Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to episode number 140 of DBR Bites of the Duke Basketball Roundup. Donald here. Jason also here. We are here to preview the Boston College Eagles game that is coming up on Tuesday night in Cameron Indoor Stadium, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ACC Network. Jason, we're fresh off of the win against Virginia Tech. Hopefully everybody is safe. Hopefully at this point they will be able to safely play the game. I know there's a lot of snow that dropped in the Triangle area, but your thoughts as we get into this game about where we are right now, because I think it's important to kind of look back now that we're kind of halfway through the ACC schedule.
I can't imagine being in a better place than where we are. I guess. Wait, we could be 1 point better. We could have beaten Texas Tech. By the way, shout out, congrats to Johnny Dawkins. One of the surprise teams in the country, and Texas Tech made me think of it because Johnny Dawkins, Central Florida, beat Texas Tech yesterday. Another big upset win. If you look at the Big 12 standings, there are a bunch of teams ranked like in the top 10, top 15. Like it's just full of these top 15 teams, and props to the Big 12 for being so good. There's also a team in there called Central Florida that no one expected to be good. And again, just mad props to JD for doing what they've done this year and for that big win over Texas Tech.
Nope, you're lying, Jason. We thought they were going to be good because we said as much after the preseason game that we played, the Brotherhood run, where they played and we said, oh, Central Florida is going to surprise some people in the Big 12. We said it back then. I still believe it now. So congratulations to Johnny Dawkins for that big win over Texas Tech. We're not here to preview that game or recap that game. We're here to preview the game against Boston College. Again, that game coming on Tuesday night. Cameron Indoor Stadium. And let's take a look at Boston College because unlike some of the teams we've played previously in the ACC, Jason, this team is not as great. They're 9-12 so far this year, 2-6 in the ACC. That's good for 14th. So they're fighting to be even in the ACC tournament at this point because only the top 15 teams go to the ACC tournament. They only have one top 100 win in KenPom. That is against Syracuse that came in overtime. They had basically 4 losses to start the ACC season and then 2 wins in a row before they gotten back on the losing end of things entering this game.
This BC team is not totally inept. I just want to say that.
Well, Jason, before you do that, let's paint some context as to why you would say that.
Go ahead.
Because the context on paper leads people to believe that this team is inept because their bad losses are some good or some pretty bad ones. They have FAU. Okay, that's fine. Central Connecticut was the one that was really bad. Central Connecticut being 296th in KenPom. They also have losses to Davidson, Tulane, who is at 200, UMass, who's at 182, and
these are bad.
In conference to Georgia Tech, which again we've played Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a tough team, but they're one of the worst teams in the ACC alongside Boston College. They did play on Saturday. They played Virginia at home. They lost to them by 7. So again, showed some fight, but they have 11 games offensively where they've only scored 70 points or lower. They have 4 games under 60 points. They maybe have 1 game where they failed to score 50 points. So, Jason, I know we're going to talk about the metrics, but as we look at this, 142 in KenPom, 152 in the net as of today, quad 3 game, barely. As we do this. But again, we're looking at this game because it's important to get out to a tough start or to a good start in this game against a team that, yes, on paper we should beat, but who's going to come out trying to fight to get a win.
Yeah, I wanted to point out, like I said, a lot of the things we're going to say, you're going to go, wow, they suck. But they're not completely devoid of talent, and they're not completely inept. That you mentioned that UVA game that they lost by 7. That was a single possession game for almost the entire second half of it. BC had a lead at times. UVA could never put them away. 7 points doesn't really tell the full story of how close that game was. And UVA is really good. They played a game with NC State. It was like a 2-point game with 10 minutes left. They took a decent LSU team, like a top 50 LSU team, to overtime. They played Louisville. They led Louisville by 8 early in the second half. Like they were up on Louisville. Now, these are all games they lost, but it shows you that BC is not unable to play with good teams because those are all good teams. It's just that at some point BC has a meltdown. At some point their tendency to take really, really, really bad shots crops up. They take really bad shots, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to give a little historical context about this BC team. Donald, I'm going to ask you to guess. When do you think was the last time Boston College finished in the top 50 in KenPom in a season?
In the top 50 in KenPom?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, oh, and I'm blanking on the name of the player who gave us fits. I want to say like 2011. So I'll go with that guess.
Okay, you're close. It's 2007.
Okay.
It's been almost 20 years since they were a top 50 team. They have only been in the top 100 in KenPom twice in the past 15 years. This is a program that is just not good. This is just the worst program in the ACC. No question about it. So let's get into the metrics. We're talking, they're pretty good on defense, Donald. I'm not sure if you noticed, they're like almost top 50 on defense, 275th on offense. My gosh. Like, how is that even possible for a power conference team to be that bad on offense? I'll start with the defense. And there's a strange quirk helping them out on defense. One of the reasons they're so good on defense is because they are the number one team in the country. Best team in the 360 plus teams in college basketball. No one is better than Boston College at free throw defense.
I love that stat. It's the greatest stat in sports.
Somehow Boston College's opponents only hit 65.5% at the free throw line. Now, if you want proof that free throw defense is totally random, this is not something that Boston College is good at every year. In fact, just 2 years ago, they had one of the 20 worst free throw defenses in all of college basketball. So somehow they worked really hard, Donald, the past couple seasons at their free throw defense.
Couple portal additions to help them out there.
My God, this is just bizarre. It's just random, but it really helps them out. Part of them getting teams to shoot poorly against them is at the free throw line, but part of it is they actually play good defense. Like, teams only hit less than 30% of their threes against Boston College. Teams just hit 46.5% of their 2-point shots, which is really good. And I'm going to talk a little bit later. They've got 2 guys who are really good shot blockers. When we get into the players, I'll get into those guys, but just trust me, this Boston College team forces you into bad shots, and they don't let you get good shots at the rim. Their effective field goal percentage defense, which is a combination of 3s and 2s, their effective field goal percentage defense is top 20 in all of college basketball. That is really, really good. Now, the other stuff on defense, they're really bad at getting steals. They don't turn you over, but teams just don't hit shots against them. And as a result, that's how you get a top 50 defense from a guy like Boston College, from a team like Boston College. Let's get to the offense now. They're terrible. They're a terrible shooting team. Like, you just can't even, they take, Donald, for some reason, this team just loves to take low percentage, long range 2-point shots. Again, when I get into the players, I'll start to discuss some of the specifics of this, but this team never saw a contested mid-range jumper that it didn't want to take. And miss, I should add. They hit 29.6% from 3. That's 343rd worst in the country. They're only 360-something teams. They're like one of the 20 worst 3-point shooting teams in the land. They hit just 48.7% of their 2-pointers. Again, that's like bottom 100 in all of college basketball. And I mentioned how bad they were, how good they are at free throw percentage defense. They're also bad at shooting free throws. They hit only 65.8% of their free throws. Bottom 20 in the land. The only good thing I can say about their offense is they don't turn the ball over a ton. That's probably because they're so busy rushing to take a bad shot, so they don't get a chance to turn it over. But man, from a statistical standpoint, this is just one of the worst offensive teams that Duke's going to play all year.
Well, it's funny, going back to the defense quickly, you mentioned that they don't do a lot of things well except make you shoot poorly. And it's funny, they've only allowed more than 80 points to the game twice all season. I mentioned the number of times they have held themselves under 70 points, but they don't like allow teams to score a ton of points. So it is going to be difficult on that end. I'll also say in a lot of their losses, offensively, it was generally due to one of two things: either poor 3-point shooting or turnovers. There, you mentioned that they take care of the ball generally, but they had some games where they had 19, 20 turnovers, and that's always going to kill you. But it's funny when they were keeping relatively clean and taking care of the basketball, they're taking some terrible shots. They're missing a lot of shots. And I think the idea that if they're just even a smidgen more efficient, you're talking about a team that could be like in the middle table of the ACC. But because they're so poor at their decision making, their average 2-point distance for shots is also like bottom 100 in the country. They just take a lot of mid-range shots. Their shot selection isn't great, and that's the advantage.
Isn't great. Wait, isn't great. Their shot selection is terrible.
but that's where Duke has the advantage, right? Is we're good at forcing people into positions where they don't want to be to take shots that they shouldn't take. This is where Boston College, I'm sure, is looking at how do they get to their spots. But honestly, at this point in the season, they need to first identify what those shots are. What those spots are on the floor that they need to get to. And Duke has been great so far, especially in the last couple of weeks, at making sure that teams are not getting to those spots. And because they're going to be able to take some, poor shots, that means that, look for Duke to get out of the transition. And that maybe, would be caveated by the fact that, again, we're still under the weather. If they can get their legs back, man, this is a great opportunity for us to fly and get some transition points.
I got nothing else, man. I think we need to take a break and then talk about the players. What do you think?
That sounds great. So we'll do that. We're coming back in just a minute. We're going to talk about the players. We're going to talk about the things to watch as we get ready for Boston College on Tuesday night. So stay with us.
Hey there. New year, big goals, no time to cook. Factor makes it easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs so you can eat well without the shopping or the cooking. Always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes. No prep, no stress.
Jason, Factor meals are made with quality, functional ingredients including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. For me, Factors were ones that fit my goals and my schedule. Healthier eating, calorie management, more protein, and ready quickly so I can fuel for the rest of the day.
Yeah, so head to factormeals.com/DukeBB50off. Again, use that code DukeBB50off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for a year. Now, this offer is only valid with new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Support for this show and the Fans First Sports Network comes from Strong Coffee Company. Elevate your coffee routine with Strong Coffee Company's Black Instant Blend and Lattes. Both feature organic coffee, protein, MCTs, and adaptogens for sustained energy and mental clarity. With quick delivery and exceptional taste, their coffee is a convenient option and a nutritious addition to your daily routine. Experience a healthier, most productive day with Strong Coffee Company. Visit strongcoffeecompany.com and receive 20% off at checkout using promo code FFSN. Again, strongcoffeecompany.com, FFSN.
All right, we are back. We continue our preview of the game against Boston College. Again, that game on Tuesday night on the ACC Network, 7 p.m. Eastern Time tip-off. Jason, We talked about how poorly they play on offense, how decently they play on defense, but let's talk about some of the players. And again, we've seen some of these players before, including a guy that has a nice name, Donald Hand Jr. We remember his dad back in the day, also playing in the ACC. But Donald Hand Jr. has been having a decent season. But talk about all the players and who we can expect to be the guys that Boston College leans on.
Yeah, they got two perimeter players who are their leading scorers. And we can start with Donald Hand Jr., the son of the Virginia great. He is in his fourth year at BC. He took a red shirt as a freshman, so he actually has another year left. I'd sort of be interested in seeing what happened if Donald Hand Jr. went to a team that kind of mattered, a better program. I don't know if he'll decide to do that after this year or not. But he has been very loyal to the Boston College program, and that should be commended. After averaging close to 16 points per game a year ago, he's down a bit this year. He's at 14.2 points per game this year. That's because he is really struggling from three-point range. A year ago, Donald Hand Jr. hit 37% of his three-pointers, which is a good number. You would be very, very pleased with a guy who could do that. This year, Donald, here comes the number. 22%. Donald Hand Jr. is at 22.3% on his three-pointers this year. The whole reason his scoring is down this season is the difference in 22 and 37.
And he's taking a lot of them. It's not like he's taking, one or two threes a game. He's taking a ton of threes and just not making it.
Yeah, and I just hope, the fact that he's hit better than 30, 35, 37% throughout most of his career, in some regards, you can say he's probably due for a big game. Can that please not happen in Cameron? Let's. I don't want that to happen.
Save that for a little bit later.
Yeah, but this guy's better than a 22% three-point shooter. The ball is in his hands a lot, and he drives to when he's not shooting those threes, he's driving to the basket. And he draws a ton of fouls. So Donald Hand Jr. has taken 134 free throws on the season. That is 80 more than anyone else on the Boston College team. Like, basically, if they're at the free throw line, it's Donald Hand or it's nobody else. And just for comparison, so folks understand, he's taken almost as many free throws as Cameron Boozer has. We talk about Cam's ability to get to the line. Here we've got a guard who gets to the line almost as much as Cameron Boozer does. So that's very impressive by Donald Hand. I mentioned that they've got another guard who is their other big scorer. That's a guy named Fred Payne. He was on BC last year. I didn't even remember him really from a year ago. He only averaged like 7 points per game last year for BC. He's scoring over 15 points per game this year as Fred Payne. He doesn't shoot a ton from the outside, but he is their best outside shooter. He hits 36% from three. If anybody's going to, hit outside shots for them, it's probably Fred Payne. And it's worth noting that both Fred Payne and Donald Hand Jr. will play like probably 35 plus minutes per game. Like they are in the game as much as they can possibly take it. They're real workhorses. And they both love to take bad shots, Donald. I'm going to give you some, we talked about it. I'm going to give you some numbers to back it up. The guy on Duke who has taken the most mid-range jumpers is Isaiah Evans. He has 27 shots defined as, like outside the paint, inside the three-point line, 27 mid-range jumpers on the season. Donald Hand has taken 77 mid-range jumpers. Again, Isaiah leads Duke with 27. Donald Hand Jr. has taken 77, what are defined as mid to long-range two-pointers. And get this, Fred Payne has taken 85.
That's a wild stat.
These guys, either one of these guys have taken more mid-range, long-range twos than the entire Duke team combined, practically. And it's not just like these two guys are bad, but there are two other guys in this Boston College team who've taken more than 40 mid-range shots. Again, Duke's leader in mid-range shooters is Isaiah Evans with 27. Boston College has 4 different guys who've taken more than 40. They love the mid-range, even though every stat guru, every person who studies efficiency, modern basketball says, don't take that shot. On the season, Duke has taken 121 mid-range jumpers total. BC has taken 302. Just This team loves to take bad shots. Just let them. Just go ahead. Just let them. Go ahead and take those bad shots all day you want, BC. I want to mention their big men really quick because I talked earlier about the fact that this is a team that is very good at protecting the rim. And they've got two guys. They got Jaden Hastings and Aiden Shaw. Those guys are both 6'9". Shaw was starting earlier in the year, but lately he's been coming off the bench. But both these guys, Jaden Hastings, Aiden Shaw, are high-end rim protectors. They combine to average better than 3 blocks per game. Neither of them score very much. They grab rebounds a little bit, but these guys are really good at turning shots away. We've talked at length, Donald, on this podcast about the fact that Duke gets in the lane. Duke scores points in the paint. It is going to be the job of Jaden Hastings and Aiden Shaw to try and prevent Duke from scoring points in the paint. The only other guy I wanted to mention, sort of the only threat they have in the post, is a guy named Bowden Kapke. He's the guy I mentioned that Aiden Shaw isn't starting anymore. That's because Kapke has started games lately. He came over for them from Butler. He's scoring close to 10 points per game, grabs about 6 rebounds per game. They moved him into their starting lineup sort of at the start of the ACC season. He's had some nice games. He had 19 points against Pitt, 14 against Virginia. Bowden Kapke is the only guy who really scores on the inside, other than when Donald Hand and Fred Payne take the ball to the bucket.
Yeah, and the funny thing is for them, you mentioned the mid-range jumpers that they take, that a lot of these guys take. And you jokingly mentioned, like, yeah, let them take the shot. But I think the one thing that's important is contesting those, because if you contest them, there's going to be some longer rebounds. And I think that's where they get a lot of second chance points is, long shots make long rebounds, especially when you miss them. And I think for us, the way that we control the paint is tremendous. And we're going to hopefully keep them out of the paint, because if they want to take the more difficult shots, then we're going to let them do that. But putting a hand in the face and then turning and boxing them out means that we can get out of transition a lot quicker, because what they're going to do is try and crash the boards. And if we already have it, and then those guys who were defending the mid-range jumper, all of a sudden they're the guy that's furthest back, you turn, and all of a sudden the way that Cam can get the ball down the floor, the way that Pat can outlet the ball very quickly. Couple of shots, you mentioned the play against Virginia Tech on Saturday, the bing bang bong play where all of a sudden you blink and there are 2 points on the board. That's what we can do a lot if we can get out in transition with those mid-range jumpers.
Yeah, and you talked about taking those bad shots and them being long rebounds, but this Boston College team is not a good offensive rebounding team. They're like 250th in the country at offensive rebounding percentage. They're they're only like 120th at defensive rebounding. They're not a very good rebounding team. That is yet another place where I think Duke will have a big advantage over them.
So let's get to the things to watch. And the first thing is, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We have a game tomorrow night, Tuesday, in Cameron against Boston College. There's nothing else going on, right? We could talk about anything else after that game. Look squarely at what's in front of you. That is Boston College. We just talked a lot about how terrible they are on offense. This is what we call a way to, I don't want to say the word, TRAP, but that's what this can set up to be if you don't look squarely at what's in front of you, and that is Boston College. So I'm sure that's going to be hammered home. And as these guys play, they need to just focus on what's in front of them that next play against Boston College. The second thing is having a strong start. We mentioned how sick this team is and how they're coming off of those illnesses, and hopefully they get through those as quickly as possible. But having a strong start is going to get momentum behind you. Cameron is going to be able to fuel some of the energy that might be lacking in the team. And if they can come out to a strong start and fight through that, I think they're going to be able to really take it to Boston College pretty early. And the third thing I would say is let's get our three-point shooting going. Our three-point shooting has been, off a little bit the last few games. And again, I think this is a perfect opportunity to kind of get that back on track, get some open looks, move the ball around, and be able to get some good shots off. And sure, like I said, with illness sometimes comes the loss of your legs with regards to like the jumping and the energy that is required to really take a shot in motion. But I feel like the muscle memory can hopefully come back, and being in the friendly confines of Cameron can only help in that regard.
Yeah, you mentioned illness. One of the things that I'm going to watch for is, does this flu bug, does whatever it is that's, that landed Caleb Foster and Dame Sarr on the injury report for the Virginia Tech game, does it then move through other guys on the team? Because that kind of thing happens. And look, I have no idea if the guys were at the tail end of it or if this was the start of it with that Virginia Tech game. It is. I will not be shocked to hear that there are more Duke players under the weather because, look outside your window right now. It is damn cold out. It is wet, and it's just really hard. Frankly, I got the sniffles right. My nose is running a little bit because it's so cold. I don't even feel like I have a cold, but I can tell there's something going on. One of the things I will definitely be on the lookout for this Duke team is this team, is something running through the whole team? Or is it, have they been able to somewhat limit it just to a couple guys, hopefully?
Yeah, and it's unfair to be like, hey guys, you got to tough it out, like just stick right through it. But unfortunately, that is the card that they have drawn in this poker game here. Boston College is not going to take it easy on us because we might be under the weather. We just go ahead and kind of at least put that to the side as best we can for a couple hours and truck through this game and really take it to Boston College.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, if I feel really terrible, I call in sick. If a kid in school feels really bad, they skip a day of classes.
They can't do that. Yeah,
no option for that.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I don't think it'll be a factor, or at least it won't be an excuse. But hey, let's tough through whatever we're going through and get through this game. Jason, as we close out, I know you want to talk about the ACC because as we turn to February, it's time where we kind of start peeking at some of the bracketology and full view of the NCAA tournament. And last year we didn't want to do that because the ACC was garbage and the bracketology reflected that all the way to the very end. But this time, as you're about to say, the ACC is looking a lot better and has a lot of teams in prime position to make the big dance.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I looked at bracket matrix to see, where are teams in the bracket, who's making it, who's not, and how's the ACC doing currently. By the way, bracket matrix compiles dozens and dozens of bracket projections. It's not like, let's see what CBS says. Oh, let's see what Lenardi. Let's see what, all these other kind of. No, this is like literally dozens of different bracket projections. So by having a bunch of different data, you get sort of the consensus. And the consensus is at the moment that there are 9, count them, 9 ACC teams in the bracket. It's worth noting that every single bracket out there, every one of the ones that Bracket Matrix looks at, and again, there are dozens and dozens of them, has Duke as a number one. There's no one that doesn't have Duke on the number one seed line. But I was sort of looking more interested in the rest of the ACC. I knew Duke was number one right now. Of the 9 teams in the bracket, Virginia comes in as a number 4 seed. UNC's a 5. Louisville and Clemson are currently projected to be 6 seeds. SMU is a 7. NC State is a 9. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams where you feel like they're not even really on the bubble. That's how well the ACC has done this year. I mean, in recent years, Donald, we were like, oh, we're going to get 4,
maybe.
And
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And here we are with 7 teams pretty comfortably in the field. Miami is a 10, and then Virginia Tech they're right on the bubble. They're one of the sort of last couple teams in the field. They're currently projected as an 11, but Virginia Tech's clearly on the bubble. But I just think it's so impressive that the ACC has this many teams in the bracket, just based on where we've been in recent years. Basically half the league looks like they are NCAA tournament teams. And it's a really good thing for the conference. And it means that Duke is being tested more than we have in the past. I'd like it if a couple more of the teams were higher up there. I think it's unfortunate that the next highest seed after Duke is Virginia as a 4. And Virginia, by the way, is sort of the last of the 4 seeds. They could easily slip to a 5. It'd be nice if we saw the ACC. If you look at someone like the Big 10 and the Big 12, they've got multiple teams who are top 3, top 4 seeds, and the ACC is lagging a little bit in that regard. But I'm thrilled that the conference has as many teams in the conversation as we do at this point, and it just shows the quality of the league has really, really stepped up this year, which makes Duke's undefeated record all the more impressive.
And I think the unique thing about this new schedule that we have, this new 18-game schedule, where we only face Louisville and UNC twice, and we don't face Miami at all this year, is once we face a team that's not Louisville or UNC, we can root for them to win the rest of their games. Like we can go, yeah, go ahead, win the rest of your games because that helps Duke's strength of schedule. And again, it helps the ACC when you look back and go, all these teams have done so well, and Duke beat them every single time. Like that, those sort of things help in the resume building process that the selection committee looks at when they're applying all these seats. And so all these teams getting good, you want, yeah, like you said, you want a Louisville to kind of boost up a bit. You want a Virginia to boost up a bit after we play them. We'll play them a lot later in the schedule. But these teams do, once we face them, the fact that we can go SMU, hey, good luck the rest of the year. No, really, do your thing, because we don't, until the ACC tournament, perhaps we don't have to see you. So I think those little things help, and it helps our resume, and it helps us mainly try to lock down that number one seed in the East, which is what we really desire, because that keeps us in Greenville and obviously right here in Washington, D.C. on our way to Indianapolis. So those little things all matter. The number of teams in helps everybody. You don't have to necessarily go rah-rah, go ACC like SEC teams like to do. But at the same time, these teams continuing to build their resume helps Duke as well build theirs. So with that, Jason, anything else before we wrap up?
No. We got a big game here against Boston College, and I'm not looking ahead at all.
Yeah. So Boston College, what we will look ahead to, Jason, is the recap of Boston College. Just as a note for everybody, we're going to try and do that one about an hour or so after the Boston College game concludes. So get your headlines in, dbrpodcast@gmail.com. We will read as many as we possibly can on the show that are good. So get them in after the game, but note that we're probably going to record a little quicker on Tuesday night just to get everything in, because as Jason mentioned before, we have a lot of content coming your way this week. But let's focus on Tuesday night. We're going to conclude here on this episode of DBR Bites, looking ahead to the Boston College game. Duke Band, for Jason, I'm Donald. Take us home. Take us to camera, please. We're ready to come home.